Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name's Bob, I'll be your host. Sometimes when publishers publish a new role playing game, cuts have to be made in the book. Sometimes this can mean cutting out sections that aren't as important to the game, and it can also mean condensing the information there to make it smaller, thereby making the books a little bit cheaper to print and so forth. Now, this can be problematic, especially new players, and when understanding things, but it is a necessary evil, and that it keeps the costs down. And later, they might print supplements and so forth to explain things that were left out or the condensed stuff. And today, we're going to talk about one of those supplements that explain things for you. We're going to look at Star Wars Sourcebook, 2nd edition. And this book has 143 pages and a copyright of 1994. This book was published by West End Games, and all of the artwork is in black and white. It is a combination of actual artwork and pictures from the movies. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork. All of the artwork in this book is in black and white, and it's pretty decent. It contains both black and white stills from the movies and actually drawn artwork, with some of the pictures being done up in blue ink. To use this book, what you're going to need is, of course, a copy of this book and a copy of the core rule books for West End Games Star Wars. You'll also need as many 6-sided dice as you can get your hands on. Now, this book has a lot of clarifications and things that were condensed and adds some new stuff to the game. It has a section in here on general StarCraft systems, and it goes over the hyperdrives, sublight engines, escape pods, sensors, and so forth, giving a lot larger explanation for each and description than what is in the core book. It also gives you some new starfighters. It gives you the Z-95 Headhunter, the A-Wing, the B-Wing, and it also discusses the X-Wing and the Y-Wing, but instead of giving you just a paragraph or two of a description, it gives you like a full page description of each ship. It even has some blueprints for the X-Wing. It discusses the TIE fighters and the TIE interceptors again, with a lot larger description for each ship. It even adds the TIE bomber to the mix. And then it discusses escort frigates, but the only example it gives is the Nebulum B. It talks about Victory class Star Destroyers and Imperial class 1 Star Destroyers. And then it talks about space barges, bulk freighters, container ships, and luxury liners. It tells you how you can book passage on luxury liners and how much it's going to cost you. It talks about space transports as well, gives you the statistics for the YT-1300 transport and the Millennium Falcon. Very big descriptions there. And it even gives you the blueprints for the Millennium Falcon in this book. It gets into droids in here. It gives you a lot larger description for the droids that it has in this book. And it also gives you some new droids, like the 21B medical droid, assassin droids, and it gives you a new probe droid. And that's pretty cool. Talks a little bit about modifying droids. And then it gives you a lot larger description of the species from the core book. And in the core book, like I said, with ships, it gives you a 1 or 2 paragraph description of the species. But in here, it gives you a full 1 or 2 pages of description for each species, and adds some new ones, like the Jawas, the Quarian, and the Tusken Raiders. This book even has some creatures that you can add to your game, such as Banthas, Dewbacks, Minox, Rancors, Space Slugs, and Tauntauns. The basic species that everybody's going to be familiar with. It's got some equipment in here, better descriptions on the different types of equipment, weapons, armor, and so forth. It's even got a small chapter, which is 2 pages long, devoted to lightsabers alone, talking about how mystical they are. And this was put out before everybody that was a Star Wars fan knows how a lightsaber is built, what components you need, how those components are put together, what components are preferred over others, and so forth. This came out before then. But it does address it. It has several varieties of stormtroopers in here. Just the basics though. Your basic stormtrooper, your snow trooper, your zero-G trooper, and your scout trooper. It has a chapter in here devoted to rebel bases, and even has an example of a rebel base in here that you could use in your games. It talks about Imperial garrisons and gives you the layout and floor plans of what an Imperial garrison would look like. It even has, in the very back of the book, the stats for some of the main characters from the movies, such as Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and so forth, all the way up to the Battle of Yavin. And that's pretty nifty if you want to include those characters in your game. But all in all, it clarifies things by giving you a lot bigger descriptions of some of the stuff that you can find in the core book, while adding a few new bits here and there. So this brings me to 3 questions. Would I play a character in a game that was using information from this book? And yes, the D6 Star Wars is my favorite version of Star Wars, so of course I'm going to play it. Would I run a game using this book? And yes, I would, and yes, I have. Like I said, it doesn't really have a whole lot of new stuff in it, but it expands on what it was there in the core book and gives you a few new bits and bobs. Would I recommend this book? And if you're a fan of Star Wars or the role-playing game in general, then this would be a very useful book to have. It doesn't give you a lot of new stuff, but it expands on the information from the core book that you already have. And like I said, throws in a few extras. So, yeah, I would recommend it if you're going to play the D6 Star Wars role-playing game. And that's all I have to say for this book. And thank you for joining me at a look at this book, and hopefully you'll join me next time, where we'll talk about something else. Bye.